Welcome back to My Psychic Connection. Welcome back to I Am Human. I'll be your host for this evening, Bunny Sugars, and I'm so happy to see you guys again. We had a lovely week vacation. I hope everyone had a beautiful holiday. And so as we do here on I Am Human, this is our interview-based talk show. And so we'll be interviewing, or I'll be interviewing our wonderful, wonderful guest. But do make sure if you have any questions for the topic we're talking about, or just for our guest in general, please go ahead and leave your questions. We won't be doing any sort of personal psychic reading, tarot reading type of questions for you guys today. Those will be on the shows afterwards, after this one. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first interview on our return back. And let's give a warm, warm welcome to the beautiful Kay the Intuitive. Come to me, Kay. I miss you so much.
Hello. You asked and I appear.
I know. I had to summon you. Oh my gosh. It's been a minute. How have you been? How have you been?
Busy. Tis the season to be busy.
It's a busy season. Badly. I feel that. So since our last interview, it's been a couple weeks. And so what I'm starting to do is kind of expand on certain topics and certain ideas. So everybody who's listening, if you have any questions, and don't forget to hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons, by the way. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask any questions you would like for Kay regarding this spiritual career path we have chosen for ourselves. That's really what we're kind of getting into. So any questions about Kay, about what she does, feel free to ask those kinds of questions. But Kay, do you have anything you'd like to say to our guests today, our listeners, our viewers today? Or are you just ready to jump into it?
Well, hello. Thank you for watching. Now, if you guys want to know anything, I'm pretty much an open book. So feel free to put those juicy questions about my life. And I guess I could get a little personal with you all today. That's a smidge for my girl, Bunny.
She's giving us a treat, y'all. She don't always answer the hard-hitting questions, but we might get a little bit of wiggle room with her today. We're being blessed.
Trying to give a little love. I'll share it out.
We're being blessed this holiday season, all right? So while we wait for those questions, you ready to get into our interview, Kay?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So I want to kind of jump into the dynamics of relationships between readers and our viewers, our clientele, our main audience, if we can call everyone that. So being a professional tarot reader is your full-time job. I feel
like.
How many hours a day do you feel like you put into this job? Or can you kind of give a record?
I don't know. It kind of depends on the day. Sometimes I can start my day early and I could start at 6. I might be done by 8. Or, sometimes it may be a full day. It just kind of depends on where my energy level is. Because that's a huge thing. We have to know our bodies and know ourselves. Like for instance, I do mediumship, right? But I don't like to start my day out doing the mediumship. I would rather save that for the end of the day because it can be a lot more physically draining on me. Sometimes people's situations are a little bit difficult. So then I may only take 2 or 3 clients that day. So it's really all about how I'm feeling and making sure I'm okay, because I'm an empath first. And I really kind of take on whoever I'm choosing to work with in that moment.
I can understand that, especially doing the mediumships for the end of the day, because there's such an energy drain.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and that you're probably the right idea. Do it at the tail end so you can just go to bed. I
Yeah,
totally get it.
you gotta set yourself up. Either I'm gonna do mediumship all day or I'm gonna do it at the end of the day. But I will not
Yeah.
start my day off and go into other things because I gotta release that energy. I semi channel messages there. So I give myself to spirit. I'm not, like I always tell people, I'm not reading you myself. This is just Kay. Spirit is guiding me and directing me, and I follow through with that. And if spirit is tired, then I'm tired.
Spirit has called that it's time for a night off, and that is what we do. We just follow directions.
Exactly. Yeah, where you lead me, I will follow.
Yes, yes, I feel that. So, do you feel like a lot of the days of the week when you are working these long hours, like 6 to 8 sometimes, do you feel like the amount of time you work overstretches you? Do you feel kind of do you ever feel like overexerted throughout the day?
I mean, it really only time I can say that is if I have a lot of personal things going on. Um, my work, that we call it work loosely, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping people. So for the most part, it's really not an issue. Sometimes you can have people who are a little bit more difficult to deal with, so it makes it harder when especially when you're already in a not so great mental space yourself sometimes. But that's most of the time when I just say I would prefer not to read, and I'll take time off, things like that if I need to. So it just all kind of depends on, again, how my emotions or how things are kind of feeling that way.
Mm. So, do you feel like, I guess, in essence, kind of paraphrase, a lot of your ability to work these hours is just really, it really depends on your energy that day and
Yep.
how you're able to take
Every
that
day is a
energy.
new day. Every day's I take it as just like that fresh look. And if I can do it today, then I will. And if I can't, I'm very honest with myself and I don't.
Yes, there's a saying I like: tomorrow is a day that exists in time.
That is your
Tomorrow,
favorite, girl.
tomorrow is the day that exists. It will get, if it ain't done today, it's done tomorrow. We're good. That has become my favorite saying. You hear me say that all the time, especially when I don't want to do
That's like a
something. But
daily
I
quote
think
for
it's
me.
one that we both relate to.
I love a quote. That is
Yes,
your quote. That
but
if
I
I had
feel
to say
like
it
it
was
is
a
one I
buddy's
think
quote,
all of
that's
us
it.
practitioners can relate to. Uh-oh. Having Oh my
Oh
gosh.
well, I'm not
Yes.
sure. Okay, I thought you cut out for a minute there. I was
We
like, oh,
seem to
I
be
think
having
she's
a little
gone.
bit.
That's
No,
okay. A little
I thought it was
technical
you
here, a
who
little
was
technical
gone.
there.
Look, it would not be the start of a Monday and the start of a new season without some daggone tech issues. There's a planet out here doing some kind of foolishness this day.
And
But
we don't know
yes.
what it is, but
So
our astrology folk know what it is, and they'll they'll get y'all together.
yes, please go watch all of our lovely our astrology folks. They are on every week with the rest of us. Y'all need to go find them and ask them, why is our technology doing the horrible things and why is everyone sad right now? You can get some idea of what's going on in the world. So, Kay, how many clients do you think you work with in a day? Just based on let's say your
Oh,
median. How many do you think?
on an average day, I would say I probably have about 20 people a day, but that can also change because I do work a lot of different hotlines and things like that. So if there's like something special going on, sometimes you might get hammered. But I mean, I remember one time I did like 120 people in a day on one of my platforms I was on. So it can get crazy, but I would say on average, probably about 20 people.
Girl, you lost me at 120 people.
It was a sale
Look,
day. This is a whole thing.
you took sale to the extreme because absolutely not.
That was a long day. That was a hard, long push day, I will say, but I did it.
Now I gotta ask you, how did you push through that? Because that, to me, you went 4 weeks. How did you push through that? That's a
It
lot.
was like I don't even know. It was just like I started early in the day and then would just roll all the way through the day. And believe it or not, someone still beat me that day. Like someone had like 150 something readings, and I was like, "You guys are crazy." I gave it my all. I didn't even place top three.
That's nah, nah. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm lost because I could never. I could never. More power to you, because I will say, Kay, your work ethic is wild. I admire it. I could never keep up, but I admire your work ethic so much because you do put a lot of time, effort, and energy in just pumping it out. I don't know how you do it, but that is like something I really love and admire about you.
They say
You
when you love what you do, it's not work, you know? So
yeah.
Um, I used to cook before as well. I was a chef. And most of the time I didn't mind because it was just like kind of it's when you add like emotions and issues and all that other stuff that jumbles in that makes it your job more difficult. But since like I basically work for myself, I choose when enough is enough or when's when. It leaves room for me to kind of shut down when I need to shut down and be able to be very open when I want to be very open. But
Right.
I like meeting people. I like communicating with people. I like having that one-on-one experience because you never quite know what someone else may be going through and how something so small you may say can significantly change their life. And
Yes.
then I also do Reiki as well. With Reiki, I mean, the way I can see people shift and how they'll come in and their chakras are misaligned and they look like ugh, and then they leave and they're like and you're like I did something. So it just makes me feel good. I'm overall a healer, so it's amazing in whatever different sex that I get to be able to practice it out on, which is why I do so much.
That's fair. I like that. Question though, do you think your ability to do Reiki, does that sort of envelop how you're able to kind of shift your energies when you need to? Like, can you like self Reiki? Is the good question.
Absolutely. My Reiki instructor told us you can Reiki anything. So she was like,
Oh,
Reiki your food before you eat it. In fact, one of our first things that we had to do when we were learning Reiki, we practiced on a lemon. And we had two lemons. We did Reiki on one lemon and we didn't do Reiki on the other. And the one actually turned out a little bit sweeter. Like it wasn't like as sour when the other one was really sour. So it's interesting just kind of seeing that dynamic even with water. So a lot of times I like to put like Reiki in my on like things like my objects, you
mm-hmm.
know. Um, Everybody knows I hold crystals all over the place.
Yes.
So I will Reiki a crystal in a heartbeat. So just things like that. But yeah, I like to personally, I don't necessarily feel like I'm giving to my physical body, but I feel like I can give it to something to put in my physical body and make it work. Though, you can give Reiki to self.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. I did know that. And that's kind of nifty. I didn't know you could Reiki yourself in food like that.
Yes.
Um, we're gonna have to do research independently later on today, because now you got my brain doing the twirly things, and now we're gonna talk about that at some point.
It's a good time.
Definitely. So, all right. So I do want to know, can you give us an idea like what it's like for so many people? Like how does it affect you spiritually, mentally, physically, especially during those long hours that you do work?
So, like, how do people affect me with my feelings?
Or more so, how do you, more so if we can kind of phrase it in a different way, how does intaking so much energy from others impact or take a toll on you mentally or physically?
Again, this one I go with it depends on the day because you don't always get the same energy from everyone every day. There's sometimes you may start the day out and you just know it's going to be a day because the energy that's coming off in the calls. I
Mhm.
noticed, and I always find this really funny. I noticed that typically it's a collective group of the signs that'll call at one time. Like I may have all Scorpios all week long, or all Geminis and Capricorns all week long. Like it's always like this like weird mesh that comes in. It's like it's kind of funny because you know what the energy of the week will probably be like.
Mhm.
But there's sometimes that people can say things or they can kind of be disheartening.
Mhm.
So it can sometimes get to you, but that's when I say it's time to detach, step
Yeah.
away, do something else, and then come back to it if you feel up to it that day. So I'm very big on if it's not working for me right now, I will shut it off and I'll come back.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Um Now, on your best days, would you say the energy is a lot more positive and it reflects positive off of you? Do you feel refreshed after those days where it's like very, very positive?
Good. I call those confirmation days. That's whenever I'm getting all the messages from people who are like, hey, you said this such and such however long ago, and this came confirmation days. They uplift you, they make you like even it sometimes it sucks because you hear
Yeah,
news confirmation of something that you didn't want to hear confirmation, or you're like, oh, I didn't want to be right about that. But even
right.
still, it's like your paddle on the back from spirit. It's like, listen, you were being that vessel we needed you to be, and it's almost like a energy pump to your solar plexus, right? And it makes you feel
Right.
really good and really, I don't know, for me, it's a confidence booster. So
Mhm.
then it makes me want to get to the next thing. And those are days where I'm like, I'm ready to do it live. I'm ready to get out of here. Like I've got so much energy to give out. So it can really kind of be a very positive, energetic push,
Mhm.
especially for my solar and sacral.
I Okay, that makes a lot of sense, honestly, because I feel like being a excuse me, a practitioner in that way, especially how as an empath you do take in a lot of energy. I can kind of see
Mhm.
where those certain types of days are very reflective in how you feel going forward through the day. And then it's
Yeah.
probably the vice versa when it's probably those more not so great days where like the whole sign collective is just having a meltdown. So
But it does make you feel good sometimes because you be like, oh, I'm not alone. The whole world is crazy right now.
it really makes you feel like, maybe what you got going on ain't so bad for like 10 minutes. And you start getting into your head again. So I'm guilty. I feel that. I feel that very heavy.
We're
So
human.
we really are. I am human. We is human. We are the humans. The show writes itself. So this comes into a really kind of interesting dynamic, right? Because you do intake so many readings and go through so many types of energies and so many types of people in the day, how are you able to maintain that personal boundary while still being empathetic to those who need guidance?
That's something that I've like worked to get better at. Even now,
Mm.
it's honestly just a thing you take day by day, client to client, because sometimes there's people who you can kind of be a little bit more open with and they'll respect the boundaries, whereas there's other people who will use that for their advantage and feel like they
Mhm.
can call you about anything. And you're like, well, listen, I have a life too. you know? So, I'll try to make the conversation a little bit more professional.
Mhm.
I don't always give a response right away. It's just that I pick and choose where I need to have that
Mhm.
boundary depending on which person it is. But a lot of people, I mean, you get so intimate with them. You read them. Some people I read literally every day, and
Yeah.
if not every day, every other day. And I'm talking to them for hours on end, collectively by the end of the week. So you
Mhm.
do get to know people very personally. And again, because I have my own, like I can kind of conversate with people one on one. They were like, oh, we know you're out and about doing this, or hey, how's your son? And they'll check in. So I do
Yeah.
have people who are really like who I've gotten very close to, and I do have some friends that I've made off of this as well. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it just everyone is a case by case study, is what I say. Never completely write someone off, and never not write someone off, because
Right.
people can also change. That's
Mhm.
where we have to trust our intuitive side a little bit too.
Yes, I can definitely understand that. I do wonder, like, in kind of striking that balance between those who need guidance and you as the practitioner. I want to ask, and it's going to sound a little bit harsh, but are there ever times where you just are like, I cannot deal with you today. I can't do it today. And how do you navigate feelings like
Oh, I
that?
just turn my phone off. That's why. That's why I have two phones. I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. And then if I do not want to deal, I leave it behind. You have to have a way to disconnect. You have to, because I found that I was doing too much when it
Mhm.
was all in one place. And yeah, maybe it cost me a couple extra bucks at the end of the month, but it's
Yep.
peace of mind, and you can't put a price tag on peace.
You really cannot put a price tag on sanity, especially in this career field. So I feel you.
Oh, and if you have my personal, then you are able to reach me. And if you do not, then you were not meant to have it.
You are not meant to have this. She
For
said, I'm sorry, I
balance.
must put you off on silent. Goodbye. You know what? Duality is very important in life and this type of job. So I feel like that's understandable. Sometimes we gotta put people just kind of on a timeout a little bit. And I
Yes.
think especially when their emotions run super duper high, and if you're in a situation that day where your emotions are a little off kilter, that's a little explosive. So it's definitely understandable
Listen,
sometimes.
I'm mom 24/7. I have a little Aries. So, I'm always dealing with mood swings. So
As she calls out all the Aries here.
he yells just for fun.
For fun. Yes. The Aries swings. Lord. Okay. So let's see. I do want to ask, is there, when you see people who, because we did touch into those who take advantage of our kindness,
Mhm.
do you notice there's a certain type of pattern, a behavioral pattern, a vocal pattern, speech pattern, something that gives you an indication that this person may be looking for essentially more than you're able to or want to give them? Like they're trying to take advantage of what they can get from us.
Yeah, I mean, people will say leading things, like they'll say, "Can I get this for clarity?" But it's not really like a clarity question, it's a whole nother question. Or they'll say just to follow up. They kind of like they say it's leading statements to get you to say something else. And
Mhm.
I don't fall into those traps.
Which is good because it's very easy to fall into the trap, especially
Not
when you're
high.
first starting. I mean, when you're like a youngin in the industry, it's real easy to fall into that because you want to help people so bad.
Yeah, you do. There's that thirst. But I think I was just so when I started out, I had a career too.
Yeah.
So I was doing this more for fun.
Hmm.
So I didn't mind. I mean, it didn't feel like anybody was taking advantage of me, just because I wanted to get all the experience I could. Now I feel like I have a lot of respect from a lot of people, and
Hmm.
sometimes you do have to be a little bit harsher. But I say I've earned my stripes in the way of
Hmm.
I give what's given to me, and I can be very empathetic, or I can be like, all right, listen up.
Or we can flip the table just a little bit and show them the other side of the Capricorn.
Yeah, we don't want to get there.
See, that's a particular button combination you're not wanting to ever push. Don't
We're
don't make
Capricorn. Nobody wants to argue with a Capricorn.
no, because y'all do it too much, too well, and then you argue us into the ground, and then it's just like we're just beating it to the wall. It's exhausting arguing with y'all. I can't do it.
Well,
I love you guys, but y'all argue. Y'all argue like a Sagittarius, but y'all do it more clever.
That's because we have receipts. We go for the factual things in an argument versus like our opinion, because your opinion doesn't matter. It's about if you're right or wrong, and I'm gonna be
Feel like we're
right
being called out. Now we're about to
before I'm
have an
wrong.
argument. Y'all have receipts, but those receipts are very selective. Sometimes those receipts are very in your favor. So it's not always the facts. It's always receipts that support how you feel in that moment.
If you want to be right, get your receipts together. You know, don't hate the player, hate the game.
And so now you've witnessed the Sagittarius and Capricorn going head to head for 5 seconds. Me and Kay should never get into an argument. That's just gonna be
You'll lose. It's okay. It's fine.
no. The real question is who's gonna cry first.
Uh, I'll cry with emotion, but I'll be angry and sad because that's what we do.
I mean, a Sagittarius will cry and fight because we're just trying not to hurt nobody. We gotta hold back. We cry for our own sustenance, so we gotta cry to level everything out, Lord. But so, okay, now I have to kind of ask you, right? Even though you have this confidence now and this ability to kind of navigate these kind of tough moments where people are kind of trying to take advantage of, but they can't take advantage of you, does it still make you feel a type of way emotionally? Like, do you ever feel a little saddened by it or disappointed?
I don't know. Not really. I mean, my quote, when someone shows you who they are, you believe them. And I take that in all aspects of my life. I don't necessarily, it's for me, work kind of things I don't allow them to physically wear me down, mentally wear me down. And if there is someone who kind of takes me out of that element, I'm very good about detaching because that's them, their situation, and they're obviously reaching out because they need help, because they're going through something. And so they're looking for me to be empathetic. And sometimes in that, guess what? That means sometimes you may be the punching bag and you may not want to be. But I noticed that those people are oftentimes the ones who come back and apologize too. So I kind of take mine from all experiences of my life. I tend to just be a more empathetic person when people talk to me. And again, that's in work, outside of work. It's the same thing. They know that they're going to get this honest whatever out of me, and that I'm going to be straightforward with them, because I don't want someone to sugarcoat something or to keep something back from me. So I think as far as it goes in all aspects of my life, it really kind of plays into it, but I don't allow it to emotionally drain me. I just have learned that people are going to be who they are, and sometimes people are can't control their emotions. And also, where I'm at in my walk, they may not be. So you just have to learn how to be kind of empathetic on the in between. But I don't find it too hard to separate that.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. It does. I guess from being new in the industry, it could be a little bit difficult for new psychics up and coming because there is that high empathy to just want to help, but then also there. I remember when I first started out feeling very, very disheartened when I started picking up that pattern of people just wanting things. But it's really interesting how you've kind of been able to separate that some people are just going through it and some people are just like that, and you just have to let them be as they are. You can't change people, and I think there's a part of you that's kind of essentially magnified on that, but you're able to expand it outwards into your everyday life essentially, and
I
let
try to
that.
look at everything as I'm an understanding person.
Mhm.
Who is Kay? Kay is an understanding person, right? I'm a very empathetic person. I can hear and this is where I go with my Capricornness, right? I'm able to see all because my mind is always working in a pros cons list, yes, no, whatever, what have you, right? And so I'm able to take whatever the situation may be, and I'm kind of able to remove myself. I may not be able to see it for what it is right away at first,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, hey, I'm human too. I don't get it right the first time, and sometimes I have to be the one to apologize for my aggression or my energy I may have put into something. But again, when people know who you are, they can tell when you're having an off day, and very much so because I work with a lot of the same people. I can tell when they're just having a little bit of an off day, or they're just frustrated about a situation, or they didn't like an answer that I gave them. Um, but I can't stop. I can't stop the truth from what it is, right? And they always end up appreciating that truth in the end. So for me, you have to kind of just in a way shed self out of it and just almost embrace so much more of that spiritualness of being empathetic, and then it makes it a lot easier.
Mm. I really like how you say we have to kind of shed or take yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something very important for a lot of practitioners to take away, that we have to remove, even though we're human, we have to kind of remove our own emotions from certain situations, because we, as empathetic folks, do lead with our emotions. And sometimes that can lead us in a really weird way. But to
Mhm.
help people the best we can, we have to find that degree of separation. So I think that's really powerful what you said there. That's very important.
Yeah.
But I want to also ask you, how common is it for someone to try and deepen the social interactions with you? Past, say, I have some guidance I was looking for more into your personal life, or trying to be like, hey girl, how you doing? Your best friend sort of situation. How common do you think that is, or would you say it is for you?
I mean, I really only have that with like my day ones who've been around since like I began. And so there's just that repertoire with each other that's just a little bit more comfortable because I wasn't so formal.
Mhm.
But over the years I've gotten a little bit more formal as things go. So they also know when there's a difference. I get a lot of respect. That's what I say. I do have a lot of respect across the board where people will go, hey, are you working today? Hey, are you okay if they see it or something? They'll make sure first. If the hour's late, they'll say, hey, you don't need to respond until whenever. It's not a rush. So I get more, and I also understand this is the main thing too, is because I have my own business aside from all the platforms I work on. I
Mhm.
understand that when I log on to those things, when I'm into those platforms, then that is like a work mode. It's a very
Yes.
different shift from my K intuitive on my own, right? Because there is more of a laxness that's there because I'm able to navigate people how I want to. It's a one-on-one experience with me versus through something else.
Right.
So that's one huge thing. I'm always going to be a lot more professional on those things than I am in my own.
Right. That's actually really understandable, because again, there has to be that really big degree of separation between me off hotline and on hotline. That is, it's very different. And in terms of how people try and deepen that business friendship, almost professional sort of thing, it kind of seems like because you've warranted so much respect, no one really tries to cross that boundary with you anymore. Is
Yeah.
that kind of true? That
That's it. I mean, you people are going to give you what you give them.
Yes.
And I believe that across the board. If I'm only ever giving you a cold-hearted response, 9 times out of 10, that person's not going to respond back to me. But when
Mm,
you respond to people with empathy, when you can kind of take their situation and let them know that you hear them or you understand them from your own personal level, or even
mm,
that you don't understand them, because you've never been through that, people respect honesty. And
mhm.
so people will always come back to someone who's like that, and they'll give you that respect back. So, like I
Right.
said, I think I've cultivated a community around me where
Mhm.
I'm getting what I'm putting out. And as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I believe that spirit's going to keep attracting those people in my direction.
Mm, I like that. I really like how you said it. You said it best. Spirit is going to give you what you ask for, and what you put out, you get it back tenfold usually. So
Yeah.
I can honestly understand that, and it's very interesting because I've heard and seen a lot of people who want to like kind of weirdly become the psychic's best friend. And
Yeah.
while that is a thing that does happen, it's very jarring when you kind of see it out in the wild. It's
Yeah.
like people think they know you, and some of them don't remember that there is a K here and a K over there. They're two
I
different
will
K's.
shut people down, listen, in person, because really the only people who really try me like that may be like people I grew up with or something like that. They'll be thinking they can get like, I'm like, well, you can book with me on Linktree. Like you can do this.
You
But
can
I
take this
don't, like I can be very savage if I need to be. So there is trust and believe there's a separation if need be. But I'm so like I'm such an open, sociable person that it should never get to be that far. Honestly, if you irritate me, you've done too much.
So now we've learned if you push that right button combination, she will snap back. So don't do it. Don't
You
do it.
know, it's not even necessary.
No, Lord. Okay, I think okay. So there's some reflection I need to do. Oh my gosh, there's some reflection that needs to be done in that one. But I do have this kind of thought, if that's a good way to put it. How to phrase it right? It's kind of like I've wanted to know always, or at least from you, why do you think people will cross that boundary with us or try to? Like,
I
what do
think
you
that's
think?
because people just don't always understand social cues. People don't always oftentimes take this as a real like job. They don't see that there's like we have emotional effects. They don't
Yeah,
see that like there's a whole other side to this. Like I always say I get when I do mediumships, whenever I do anything that may be health related, anything of those natures, I physically take on the symptoms. Um Interestingly enough, I've been having a whole lot of animal readings lately, animal communications, people asking questions about their pets.
mhm,
And so, I mean, I'm talking horses, cats, dogs, I mean, all kinds of animals. And I'm like, I remember like, I was like, oh, I'm not really sure I can give you, I'm able to tap into people, but I was like, I'm not sure if I can tap into animals. That is a whole nother level. One, I can, and I have
yeah,
been, and it's been going. Okay. But it's a whole different. It's like an out of body experience. The
mhm,
feelings that I get, but it's so hard to describe to put those into words for another human to get without sounding crazy. Uh,
yeah,
but it's not. It's I physically take on symptoms. I physically almost essential to being like a channeler to take on those things and to go with it. So it's not as easy. And no, I don't want to do it for, $2. I don't want to do that because I have to sit there with the rest of the day with whatever
yeah,
this is, and I have to get it off of me, or I have to carry it with me and to cleanse myself. And then that cost, you know what I mean? And so there's so many different things that go into it that I would love to say it was just so easy that I could just that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So
it
my
does not.
biggest thing is always just to understand whenever I say, let me give energy in that time, let me come back, let me refocus, and be able to kind of pour all that I need to in it. But it is very hard sometimes when people are like just expecting you to just, hey Kay, just real quick, can you just give an answer? I mean, I could, but I could also drain out for my day. I prefer not to. So it's a boundary.
I can understand that. Now, Miss Ma'am, I don't know why I remember when you first started kind of getting into the animal readings, and you would help me with so many of my bunny questions because them children of mine give me stress. And I need to decipher. You were always good at it. So I'm sitting here like, ma'am, I think you always knew you kind of had it. It's just a little different. It's just,
Yeah,
it's,
I don't know. We don't always want to accept that this is what our gift is, and we don't always realize it's happening, and spirit throws it at you and you're like, okay, we're doing this now.
Spirit's like, well, you've been doing it, so you might as well just keep doing it. We're here now. Spirit is very funny like that. But like in that boundary cross, right? Or that attempted boundary cross, do you ever think that there's a point where an advisor and someone who's seeking guidance can actually form like a genuine, wholehearted friendship? Or is that like too much of a boundary that doesn't need to be crossed?
No, I think you can 100% be able to formulate relationships, but there has to be that healthy balance of people understanding what's work and what's play.
Yeah.
We all do. We all give our friends advice. We all listen to our friends' problems, right? But we have to be very understanding that sometimes your friend's not looking for a reading too. You have to know when to shut that off, because that can be hard too. You're like, your intuition's telling you everything. You have to have boundaries within yourself too. And that comes with your relationships. I always tell my friends, if I'm saying too much, tell me to shut up. Like, cause I don't even realize it sometimes. And there's sometimes where it's just kind of a dynamic whenever it's like, listen, I can look deeper into that if you really want me to know or want to know. But if not, then I would just give my opinion. So I find just vocalizing and expressing helps create those healthy boundaries between people. But again, I can't personally say I have too many people who take advantage of that. It's very few and far in between. And when they do, I'm very good about making sure it's clear that I'm not comfortable stepping further into something. Or even when I do end up giving like a friend a reading of a sort, I make it very clear that we're stepping into business K, not personal K. And so there's a divide. So it's just making sure that you have those healthy boundaries up with the people around you and you can communicate. And if you can't, then 9 times out of 10, those are probably not good people for you to have friendships with.
That's a really, really good point. That's a good point, because friendships have to, regardless of how they started, you have to respect the boundaries between both kind of your personal and professional lives. It's like being friends with a doctor.
Yes.
You cannot go to your
Go
doctor
write
friend
this script.
like,
They're like, ooh. I don't know about that.
like, have you thought about going to your actual doctor? There has to be that boundary that does exist. So I can totally understand that. Now, on the flip side, what do you think are some boundaries between advisors and clientele that should never, never, ever be crossed? Like, what is our code of conduct, do you think?
I never believe you tell anyone what to do. I don't ever believe you tell. I don't even like watching people who say this is the exact thing that's going to happen. I don't like. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. We all have free will. And the moment you take away someone's free will and you guide them to this directed path you want them to go on, you're going to end up messing with the energy. And I think that can not only sour a relationship, but also sour someone's life. And I don't want to have any parts of that, nor do I want to be a part of anybody having any parts of that. So I don't care if I've been with someone for years and they, are pushing for a certain thing. I'll tell them I won't read for them anymore. I never like to make someone walk a certain path. I think we have to be very clear that we say these are your possible options. This is what I can see happening, but of course you can change it. That verbiage is everything in a reading, because you can really, really mess with someone's life.
Yeah. And there is this certain level of trust that people come to us with. And the moment we start telling them what to do, we start abusing that trust. It
Right.
almost becomes, it's almost very self-fulfilling in a way. It's almost very selfish. And when you mentioned that, I realized in kind of my own life where I had friends and they would ask you for advice, right? And you would
Right.
tell them, well, I think you should da 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 da. And you can't, and now in this profession, you can't say that anymore, even to just your personal friends, because you never want to tell them what to do, because then you are selfishly impacting someone else's free will.
Yeah.
That's a very deep. That's a very deep set of thoughts when you.
It is. It is. But it's one of my hard points.
Yeah. honestly, I think that is probably one of the most important things. Like, we can't dictate where you should go in life. We have these cards and we can tell you what way might be most beneficial, but we can't tell you this is what you need to do, because at the end of the day, you have to guide yourself. You
Hmm.
have to do it. We can just show you possibilities. We can't tell you, yes, exactly, this is it. That is actually really scary when you think about how much power we hold sometimes over people.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
It's
That's
it's
kind of
it's a huge weight to carry, and it's one that I would say that I don't take lightly, and I would hope that anyone who does do this, they wouldn't take that lightly. And you
yeah.
can always tell the difference in someone who really cares about what they're saying and how they're saying it by the way they present that. But if you're
Yeah.
feeling like someone's kind of always got something negative, always kind of going on a tirade, always making something, a heavier thing, and they're never providing any insight on how to get through it. I would probably say those are the ones you should gear away from.
Mm. That's I honestly feel like that is really solid advice. That is extremely solid advice to anyone who seeks out practitioners, or it's like when you feel like you're not in control, run, because
If I
you
can't
always
connect with you, if you can't connect with the person who's
yeah.
giving you the information, then they shouldn't be reading you. They're literally tapping into your energy, right? And
Yeah.
so when I'm saying how I full on take on emotions, and I can take us, especially when it's a deeper reading.
Mhm.
Ask yourself, would you want that person wiggling around in your energy and your mind? Because that's what you're asking us to do.
Yeah.
So you make sure
Uh-huh.
you're comfortable, right? Make sure you're
Yeah.
comfortable, and make sure it's with someone who is empathetic and can be there, and
Mm,
is giving you a lot of insight and options.
yes. And so for our final question, Kay, kind of overall in essence, how would you view the relationship between a psychic advisor and their client? Like, what are your thoughts and feelings in regards to that connection between us?
I always kind of feel like it's a spiritual counselor, if you will. That's your person. I personally don't believe in going to 1,000 different readers. You pick a couple good ones who can catch your energy and your vibe, and that's what you do. But I build a solid connection. Most of the people who I've been reading for years. I do, of course, have new people who I meet, but when it's right, it sticks through, and you're able to kind of, even if it's not the information that you want to hear, even if it's not 100% the accuracy or what have you. It's that connection you're building. It's the way that they're seeing you. It's a way to be someone who can be kind of an open diary with, because right, we're getting to look at so much of your life, and we're helping you to overcome those obstacles. And I think the relationship between the two can be very beautiful. It's just all about making sure you're with the right fit, and knowing that the person who's reading you wants to do it and has the energy to do it. Um, but it works both ways. If it just doesn't feel right, I would say go check something else out until it does feel right. But you got to try things out, and also just be open and be willing for the experience. And that's how you kind of have the best relationship.
I like that. I think that was very, very true. Very true to and kind of encompass it all. You got to shop
Mhm.
around and you got to connect with the one who feels right for you. So I think that was an awesome wrap up. But we're not done yet. We have more.
Well, that's done.
We're not
But
done
there's
because
more.
we have audience questions. It is Q&A time, everybody. If you have a question for Kay, go ahead and drop them down in there right now, because we're going to start getting into our audience questions. So, who has a question for Kay? Debbie asks, hi, Kay. Are you a psychic, medium, or empath?
All of the above. So I always say it literally in my name, Kate the Intuitive Empath Tarot Reader. So I mean, it's a long name, but it's a name with girth. Yes, so I'm intuitive. I receive my messages from spirit. I hear, I smell, I feel. I can also see things that are upcoming. My first gift, I always say, was to see death. So I see life and death first, though I will never give anyone those kind of readings. but that's what I see. I try to help people get on the best path that they can so they're living a more fulfilling life. But that part comes into the psychic reading. Um, the thing is that all of the gifts kind of play into themselves. I utilize so many different tools. Like I said, I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so I do more than just the readings. Um, and I'm a mom. I'm a mom, and that's my superpower.
That's your main job, mom. That is the main occupation. That's your forever
Hey,
occupation.
the psychic, the medium, the reader, and the mom.
Oh, that's cute. You should put that on something. You should put that on a banner.
Don't
No,
worry,
that's
Journey will
truly,
have something printed out by the end of the show.
hey, I like that. Oh my gosh. That's a put on a t-shirt. Oh my gosh. Let's go ahead and jump into our next audience question. So let's see. Chanel says, "Hi, hello, ladies. How are you? I'm new to spirituality and once identified myself as a Christian, but I feel I'm more than that now. What do you identify with, and how do you explain to others your beliefs? I hope this makes sense. Thank you." It does make
This
sense.
100% makes sense. So I too grew up in a Christianity background. But what I tell people, this is exactly what I say. I am spiritual. I'm not religious. Religion is fear-based. Spirituality is a lot more open. And the reason why I say that, because people go, oh, okay, let me not get you all in a wad. Now, spirituality, there's so much of a list of rules. Yes, no, do's, don'ts. And the consequence is eternal hell, right? That's what Christianity is. It's either heaven or hell. Well, in spirituality, it's not this black and white thing because it can't be. Spirituality accepts and is open to all things. I believe everything is right and everything is wrong at the same time. I do believe that there's a higher power. I do believe that there's a God of sorts. Can I sit here and crack down on a specific name? No, nor will I try. That's not my place. My place is to pour light back into the world. I am a light worker. I am an energy worker. I am a healer. So my spirituality fully believes that if you do right by other people, then good will come to you. There's lessons that we all must learn. So that's what we go through, karmic cycles. I believe that we're all healing every day. I don't believe that anyone's perfect. I always say, in fact, even Jesus cried out on the cross, "Why hast thou forsaken me?" Right? Even Jesus had a moment of humanity, right? We are all human. At the end of the day, we all have emotions that I don't care what God you believe in has given us, right? So all of these things were out here, and it's up to us to regulate what works for us and what doesn't. But I don't believe by doing malicious things. I don't believe by taking things away from good people that good happens to you. Absolutely not. I think that there's something that will come around. But I don't leave it as black and white as a heaven and a hell. I don't leave it as black and white as this makes someone right and this makes someone wrong, or that there's this fear that God's going to wipe me out if I make a mistake. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in openness. I believe in loving people. And the one main thing that I can say that spirituality has shown me is the acceptance of people being different in whatever ways they are. Whereas whenever I was religious, there was a lot of taught hate, is what I feel. Um, if someone didn't believe the same religion, if someone didn't walk the same line of faith as us, we were taught that they weren't going to have this better, path in life. I can't put myself into that. And I just want to leave my life open to anything and understand that, again, we're all human. We all have a story. And so for me, when I say I'm spiritual, I always say I'm spiritual. I'm not religious. I'm so much more happier. I feel a lot freer. And I'm just open to whatever concepts. Quite honestly, I couldn't give you a book of what my spirituality is because every day there's something else. I learn different things every day from different people by talking to people, and I grow. So I think you have to just get very comfortable for you, Chanel. You have to get very comfortable with yourself. You have to look at whatever text it is that makes you, I don't care if you decide, you know what, I don't particularly believe in just this one religion, and maybe I believe in three of them. Well, you combine them and you go, that's what my spiritual path is. But you have to do what the calling feels right to you. And if it's not Christianity for whatever reason that is, then just step into spirituality. Spirituality is just openness to accept whatever it may come in that free flow of energy. Um, Take the titles out of things, and you'll be able to look at things through a whole different perspective. And honestly, just kind of get very comfortable with your own sense of being and belonging. And I feel like people will be more understanding of that because I've taught a lot as I walk the spiritual path. And by just talking, it's so interesting how many people actually have the same beliefs as you. They just didn't have the words to put on it. So I hope that helps, Chanel.
Ooh, we just went to church with Kay. That was the gospel of Kay. That was great. I was into it. I'm like, yes. Speak more.
I could talk about that all day. That's a different show.
I would like to hear all of you. We should have that as a segment one day. Ooh, that would be fun. Chanel says, thank you, Kay. Aw.
You're welcome, lovely.
All right, so let's get into our next viewer question. You guys are awesome. And if you have any questions for Kay, go ahead and leave them down in the boxes or in the comment boxes. Says, oh, I just saw. How do you protect your energy? That's a good question.
Okay, again, I'm a crystal girl. Even as we speak right now, I don't have a real need to have a whole lot on, but I have wearable jewelry on. But I'm always someone who has a crystal nearby, keeps my energy clear. I cleanse my crystals all the time. I use incense. I do Reiki. So, I mean, and then I have like a gazillion friends who are practitioners who, if I drop on a dime and say, guys, I need, even if I don't ask, they're like, girl, you look like you need some Reiki. I'm about to send you some. Or you look like you need an energy clear, and I'm gonna do a candle for you. So honestly, I'm fortunate enough to have so many great people around me who send positive energy. I myself am, I mean, before a show, you guys should see my incense and everything, my crystals, shoving them in my body. But that's how I keep myself protected and cleansed.
Oh my goodness. Okay, the crystal queen. She has crystals everywhere.
You have it on top.
Everywhere. Around you, on you, near you. When you start putting crystals in a hairstyle, I'm gonna be like, and she got crystals everywhere.
It's the thing. It's fine.
I like
the crystals in life.
You know what? I tell people this all the time. It could be worse. It could be something illicit. It could be something illegal. It's just the color pink and some crystals. Let us be. Oh gosh. Let's get into our next viewer question. Maricela asks, if I may ask, what is the sign you noticed when you realized you had gifts? I've always wanted to ask and forget.
Oh, well, the sign was having a terrifying dream vision. I call them dreams, but terrifying vision of seeing my grandma pass. So it's the first one who I saw, and I was horrified. And I didn't know if I was like wishing it on her. Like I had no idea what was going on. I was truly freaked out. And then again, it was like, I don't even think it was a full 6 months later, had another dream about my cousin. Next thing you know, my cousin was in the hospital. And for me, it was back to back to back, literally for about 4 to 5 years straight. Every 3 to 6 months, someone died. So it was very traumatic for me, the way I like got my gifts, which they say it goes through trauma. I had other things that happened too, but I kept seeing my family and it was freaking me out. As I've gotten older, it expanded more, obviously, but how did I know? It was that you only keep getting smacked in the face with visions like that, and you have to, respond. You have to know that it's something. So that, again, that's what led me speaking to my pastor, who then told me that it was a gift, which I was like, who wants this? It's terrifying.
I was like, it's a gift. And we're like, are you sure? Are you
Yeah, no.
sure? I feel like if a pastor told me that, I'd be like, ooh, I gotta go.
Yeah, I was like,
I gotta roll.
Okay. And now here I am. He was right.
I mean, yeah. The pastor's the interesting one because you don't expect to hear that from a pastor. I like that though. That's very interesting. Very open-minded pastor. So Firefly also asks, can you feel or sense the energy of crystals?
100% yes. And especially if your crystals are cleansed, which I always talk about on my show, you can 100% feel different vibrations from it. This one, it grounds the heck out of me. Grounds me. And you can feel that rootedness. There's some that bring uplifting energy. So yeah, every crystal holds its own properties.
I do like that. Crystals are very interesting. But anything from the earth can hold energy, and I think that's
Yes.
true. Kay, we had another bomb interview. Thank you so much. I know we've been tired, we've been hustling, we've been working, but thank you for making the time for me. And I'm so happy you were able to come today. And thank you so much. You are an awesome, awesome guest. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything to anybody before we roll out for the night?
I'm going to just shamelessly plug myself. We got YouTube content on my Psychic Connection. And of course, you guys can catch me, Katie Intuitive Empath, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight.
You heard her. You can catch her getting them cards together for y'all at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And at midnight, you can also catch the wonderful and lovely Journey Ryan on Journey Ryan Live, doing his thing with them cards later on. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for all your beautiful questions. Kay, it was a good time as always. And everyone, have a good evening. Drink some water, take a nap.
See you guys.